Hello everyone and welcome to D- Raspberry Pi 4 programming, and in this tutorial we will be looking at how we are going to sense the data from the sensors connected to it and how we are going to send it to the cloud. So in this particular session we are concentrating on temperature and humidity sensor, and that is DHT11 sensor I'm using here. So this sensor has got both the sensors inbuilt in this, temperature and humidity. So these two parameters will be sensing and taking data from the sensor and manipulating it and then sending it off to cloud. So let's get started. Let me tell you and let me show you how we are going to go step by step. Alright, so let's get started. So the first step is we have to go to terminal, open the Raspberry Pi 4, go to the terminal and type following commands, and because we have to import some libraries, and I'm using here Adafruit Python DHT library created by Adafruit, and it has got the library, so we can, if we are able to import it, then we'll be just simply installing it, and then we'll be using the functions defined in this, and we'll import it and just execute those functions to display temperature and humidity. So for this we have to first sudo apt-get update Raspberry Pi and make sure it has the latest version and all the latest updates are installed. And after that go for git core, where we want to open the website of git core and download the library of Adafruit. So first we have to install the git core, sudo apt-get install git core, and then type this link git clone, and this link will enable Raspberry Pi 4 to download Adafruit Python DHT library into our system. So this will be cloning that library. After that you will be seeing Adafruit Python DHT folder in your maybe download folder. Just copy it and cd into it, and then you have to build essentials like it has got some packages, so for that we have to install it explicitly. So what we are going to do is sudo apt-get install build essential python dev. Just type this line and you will be installing all the essentials regarding Adafruit Python DHT package. In that you have one I'm missing one word here. You have got one setup.py file where you have to install it. Okay, sudo python setup.py install. This will install the setup, and then after which you are ready to go. Okay, in step 2 what we'll be doing is we will be we'll be writing code in Python. So I'll just go to this programming and Genie IDE where we have the code written here. Okay, so we need API key and URL link where we are going to send our data to the cloud. So I'm using thingspeak.com website where they are providing free of cost their dashboard for some up to some limit. So we can send our data and view there on their dashboard, so that we can analyze our data and we can check our parameters changing in the form of graph. So it's a good facility and good provision provided by thingspeak.com people. So I'm using it, and just watch how we are going to use it in our program. Alright, so first of all, we are if we let's begin with the coding. We are importing sys urllib2 sys for system specific functions. We have to include so that we get these packages, and here we are importing urllib2. This is for sending our data to the cloud. So we have got those functions defined in this package, and the time we are going to use time package. We have import sleep function that is used for delays, and then since we are using GPIOs, so we are importing rpi.gpio and denoting it as GPIO. And then what we have recently installed is import, we are going to import it, and that is DHT11. Okay, so now we are going to set the GPIO, set its mode, gpi.set warnings false, gpi.set mode, gpi.bcm, gpi.cleanup. Finally it's going to clean up that. And here I'll show this when we are creating our account in thingspeak.com. so this is API key we have to include here, and the URL we have to provide here. Okay, so once we are copying that into our own variable myAPI and base URL, we'll be starting a while loop, that is indefinite loop we are going to start. And this, for this demonstration, you can include your own code to stop it. Okay, so I'm using here the try and accept function to ensure that our code is defined in some bounds. Okay, now here I'm using GPIO pin 23. I'll just open it up. Okay, we'll be again viewing this. I'm using GPIO 23 IO pin of Raspberry Pi 4, and I'm using here 5 volts as supply voltage to DHT11 from the Raspberry Pi board, and then using ground pin, and just that's all. We have got 3 pins of DHT11 module. We'll begin coming back to this step when we discuss the hardware. Okay, so we have got a function here. We are, when we say DHT11 pin is equal to 23, we are reading data from pin 23 that is defined in package DHT11, and that we are copying in instance. Alright, that instance we are going to read it. When we say instant.read function, we are actually reading that data into the result. Okay, so with this if condition, we are checking that whether the data is valid. If it is valid, then we are going to print it to the terminal window. This is what we are printing. Print temperature in Celsius. Okay, so percentile result.temperature, this is what we're going to get from the output of instant.read. And another output what we're getting is result.humidity. So this library is which is defined in Adafruit. So we have got 2 parameters here, humidity and temperature, and that's what we are printing here. And at the same time, we want to send this data to the cloud, which is ThingsSpeak. Okay, now we are saving result.humidity into HUMI variable, and we are saving result.temperature into TEMP variable. Okay, but make sure I have written here 0.2f and 0.2f. that means we are confining it to 2 decimal places, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't have any decimal floating point decimals, so that you will get in DHT22. But for the demonstration purpose, we can go ahead. Okay, so this is what the URL function, your URL open, this is the method we are going to call, which takes URL link as its argument. Alright, and so that it sends the data to the defined intended URL link. So this is only the URL link. This is the base URL. When you say plus, it is going to just append this string to this variable, and when you say percentile s, here we are defining, we are inserting, we are replacing this percentile s with the variable tmp and humi, that is humidity. So this is only our URL, but we are using our own custom URL, so we'll check this. This is base URL, and you have to copy this api.thingspeak.com, this complete URL link, so that we are able to send data to a prescribed location. Okay, that we are storing in con variable, and then here we said con.read, it's going to read that the data, and then we have to close it so that it doesn't remain open indefinitely. And then if the data is invalid, it's just going to throw an error with the error number. Okay, then we have to wait for 2 seconds so that the DHT11 processes it. Okay, and then we have to include this so that if any unwanted or invalid data comes, so it's going to break the while loop. So we are now ready to go ahead. I'll just close this, and let's see what's our third step. Okay, now let's see how we can create an account in thingspeak.com website. So before that, we can't do it. So let's go ahead. I'm just opening the ThingsSpeak. Okay, here we got it. I have already created my account. It's easy, just follow those steps, and see I'm already logged into my account. Okay, so I'm directly going to my channels, and I'll see and view my channel, how on my data there. So for you, I have to sign out, and then just sign up like any other email account, and then when you sign up, I'll show you what we have to note here. Okay, this is what the weather monitoring channel I have created, because we are reading temperature and humidity around the room, and then we are sending that data to this channel. So for this, we have to note the URL, which I have already shown you here, and then an API key. You can see this my API. This particular API key we have to note from here. Okay, when you see new channel, you have to create new channels, and then only you will be able to see this. Okay, I'll just create channel 1. Okay, you have to just say which parameter you're going to use. I'm going to, if you say temperature, and then if it is if you want more parameters, then you can even include one more parameter here, temperature, humidity. All right, it's your choice. If you want to include more options here, you can even skip this. I'm going to save this channel. Okay, now once I create the channel, I have the choice to include this as a private and public view, and even you go to channel settings and edit what you want to do that, and then go to API keys and just note this, write API key, because we're going to write data into this channel. So you have to copy this API key and substitute in this variable. Okay, if you want to read data, it is for different purpose, which we are not going to see this time. Okay, all right, I'm going to close this, So this is what the program is. Now the third step, let's prepare for the hardware. I'll show you how we are going to see and connect our circuit of Raspberry Pi and DHT11. Okay, alright, I'll just open the circuit diagram here. So in this particular project I'm using the module of DHT11. Just make a note of it. If you're using directly a sensor, you cannot connect this way. You have to use one 10k pull-up resistor so that the voltage output of this DHT11 is stepped down to 3.3 volts, because Raspberry Pi won't accept voltages more than 3.3 volts. It is there, they have got no 5 volt tolerant pins. So just make a note of that, and then make sure you're connecting correct pins to the pins of Raspberry Pi. So because if you're making a mistake here, you will be burning the Raspberry Pi. So 5 volts you're going to provide to DHT11, and then ground pin to ground pin, and GPIO 23, which is 16th pin on the GPIO header of Raspberry Pi 4, directly to the from the DHT11. So DHT11 accepts power pin supply from 3.3 volts to 5 volts. You can even use 3.3 volts, which is provided here, but sometimes it gives problems, so better go for 5 volts. Okay, just close this again. So once we are ready with the program, then let's execute and just check how we will be sending data to the ThinkSpeak. Okay, let's go back again to the ThinkSpeak website. Okay, so here I'm already logged in. Go to channels, my channel, and then go to weather monitoring, which here I have already tested it sometime back. Okay, so there are already 42 entries in this channel. You can see I have tested this, but again we will execute the program and just check it. So for this let's go to channel 1. Something we can do live. Okay, alright, I'll just copy this API and paste in this. Okay, then let's execute this now. Private view. Now you've got the flowchart. There's none here. Now we are just going to execute this. Go to build, or you can even execute from here. Okay, executed. It has shown one error. Let's wait and see what does it do in another iteration. Because it has got a 2-second delay and a processing time also. Okay, it has executed this, and first entry is being done. This indicates the first entry is being done. The temperature here is 25 degrees with humidity 83%. Okay, let's go to channel and see. Okay, that's one entry. Okay, and the temperature is 25 degrees and 83% is what the humidity is. Okay, so there's one more entry here. Okay, because we have it is continuously sending data. So let's wait for 5 seconds more and see. Okay, I'll just try to heat up the sensor so that it changes a little. Okay, there are 3 entries now. Okay, I'm going to heat up the sensor, you can see this. Even humidity should change. Okay, it should change a little now. It has changed 26 degrees. I want it to change more. Okay, humidity has changed with my blow of air from my mouth. Okay, so let's go back to this and see the graph here. So temperature and humidity, how it's changing. So I hope it's enough to get started and do your testing on IoT. This is one of the first IoT projects, and I hope if it is good and explained well, you can go ahead, try your own, and thanks for watching.